very good afternoon and welcome to Africa Today. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. First, let's talk the headlines. On the headlines, FG replies 5 U.S. senators. ECOWAS lifts Mali sanctions, agrees on Burkina transition. Tunisia constitution head faults president's draft. And on sport, Falcons Bayana renew rivalry in Rabat. Now the news in detail. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari says the commitment of his administration in infrastructure development across the country is already yielding results. The president, who was represented by Nigeria's Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, stated this during the official commissioning and handing over of the completed Section 1, Phase 2 and Section 2, Phase 1 of the Nguru-Gashua Bayamari Road in Gashua, Yobe State, northeast Nigeria. He explained that the road has been built to the highest quality of design and workmanship, and if well used, should last for the design service life. Earlier in his remarks, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, represented by the Director Highways, Northeastern region of the country, sports infrastructure, which was a commitment of Buhari administration as a driver for the economic growth and prosperity. Fashola also acknowledged and commended commitment of the President and his vice, and the members of the National Assembly, especially chairmen of the Senate and House Committees on Works in the 8th and 9th Assembly for their assistance to the state, noting that after several years of neglect by previous governments, the Buhari's administration has been able to rehabilitate the road for use. Now, a call by 5 U.S. Republican senators asking for the redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern because of alleged persecution of Christians. The senators who made the call in a letter to the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also alleged violation of freedom of Christians' right to practice their religion. Responding to the allegation in an interview in London, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the call was based on false premise and misunderstanding of what was going on in the country. Reports stated that the minister is of anybody to practice his or her faith without molestation, and government has always safeguarded the constitutional provision who were not well versed in political and happenings in Nigeria to criminalities and communal clashes as issues of religious persecution. Away from that story, Education Nigeria and Education Rights Campaign have knocked the regime of Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari over the prolonged shutdown of academic activities in the nation's tertiary institutions. In a statement made available to journalists on Sunday, factually resolve the issues has kept poor Nigerian children at home. Politicians attend private schools. Also speaking in an interview with journalists on Sunday, the program's director of Reform Education Nigeria, Ayodamola Oluwatoyin, 40th day today, while the strike declared by the Joint Action Committee, Senior Staff and Association of Nigeria Universities, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education and other allied universities. People's Democratic Party has called on Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari to immediately recall former Chief of Army Staff, that is COAS, and Ambassador to the Benin Republic, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, to face investigations and clear his name even according to the recall and investigation of Buratai is predicated on the early assertion by the National Security Advisor, that is Babagana Monguno, after the exit of Buratai as Chief of Army Staff and the $1 billion drawn from the national coffers under the APC administration for the period, and personally face investigation to clear his name. You're watching Hills TV. We move to when the news returns. Just stay with us. Economic Community of West African States, that is ECOWAS members, has lifted economic and financial sanctions on Mali, approved Burkina's transition timetable and an acceptable timetable. This was disclosed in Ghana, where the West African leaders met to review sanctions imposed on 3 neighbor countries. During the summit, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, president of Guinea-Bissau, was elected as new chairman of the bloc.
The sanction taken in terms of recalling the ambassadors of ECOWAS member country, this sanction is also removed. So the ambassadors will be able to return to Bamako, to Mali. The authority of Burkina Faso have made a new proposal, which is now to have the transition in Burkina last for 24 months, starting July 1st.
It's added that if the 15-nation regional bloc maintains a month-long embargo imposed on Mali, Mali and ECOWAS reached a planned consensus with Mali that Mali will hold presidential elections in February 2024. The poll, which will be preceded by a referendum on revised constitution in March 2023 and legislative elections in late 2023. And now to Sierra Leone, where the President Julius Maada Bio announced his government had unanimously backed a bill that would decriminalize abortion in the country. Speaking at the 10th Africa Conference on Sexual Health and Rights, which took place in Freetown on Friday, he noted that the Parliament will debate and vote on the risk-free motherhood bill.
At the time in the world when sexual reproductive health rights for the women are either being overturned or threatened, we are proud that Sierra Leone can once again lead with progressive reforms. I can and should speak freely and publicly about menstruation because there is no shame in menstruation.
Sierra Leone's current abortion laws. We move to other parts of Africa after this break. Do stay with Africa Today News on Hills TV. Killed on Thursday in demonstrations against country's ruling police officer armored vehicle, firing tear gas towards the protesters who used the shields and threw stones in retaliation at the vehicles. Demonstrators moved later to a sit-in area which lasted, although the United States and others in the international community condemned the violence in the East African nation, which had been rocked by nearly weekly protests since October 25. Chinese military authorities have met the protests with a deadly crackdown, which has so far killed 113 people, including 18 children. In Tunisia, a man who oversaw the drawing up of Tunisia's proposed new constitution has condemned the final document as dangerous. Sadok Belaid, a former constitutional law professor, is quoted by local media as saying that some chapters have paved the way for a dictatorship in 4 weeks' time does not resemble the first draft proposed by its committee. In a letter published by the majority, it said the published draft involved risks of serious pitfalls, in particular the erasure and distortion of Tunisian identity. He also criticized the president's judicial body would reduce its independence. The government has also been attacked by the powerful UGTT trade union as a potential threat to democracy. The proposed constitution will put a referendum on July 25. Away from that, authorities in South Africa's Nelson Mandela Bay are without water. A prolonged drought and poor management of water infrastructure have been blamed for the crisis. The poorest neighborhoods are already suffering where normal access to water is through communal taps, which don't work on most days. It's business news. Stay with us. And residents along with others have expressed worry with the slow response of the federal and state governments to providing the infrastructure needed to efficiently kickstart the seaport corridor hours after the first vessel berthed at Lekki Deep gridlock. According to the managing director of the Nigerian Port Authority, that is NPA, Mohammed Bello Koko, the arrival represented a major step towards berthing Nigeria's first deep seaport. Lekki time. Away as the new vice president for Eastern and Southern Africa, effective July 1, 2022. Kwakwa is an economics and development expert with 30 years of experience and will lead an active regional program, including financing portfolio and climate resilience, agricultural productivity, and food security, as well as access to critical infrastructure. In her most recent role as World Bank's Vice President to Corporate Strategic Initiatives, she will see and impact. And away from that story, we move straight to sports news after this break. Do stay with us.
Sunday at the 18-hole IBB Golf and Country Club in Abuja. Golfers from the sector and outside participated in the competition sponsored by the Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring Board as part of the activities for this year's Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference scheduled for the International Conference Center in the nation's capital. That the tournament marked the official commencement of the conference last between July 3 and July 7. Wabote, a golfer, further stressed that the whole idea is that we have the Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference in 2022, which started on Sunday, and the golf tournament is expected to warm up all attendees to the conference. Nigeria's go to war for 3 points later today in the opening game of Group C of the 12th Women's Africa Cup of Nations, which began in Morocco on Saturday. 9-time African champions and World Cup ever-present Nigeria have not forgotten Chiamaka Inadozie as goalkeeper. Tochukwu Oluehi could be between the sticks for the Super Falcons against the Bayana later tonight. All the 4 semi-finalists will represent Africa at next year's Women's World Cup finals, with the 5th place team a duo after a brief spell with the club. The 4-time CAF Champions League winners made the announcement on their social media handles on Sunday. Edo joined the Indonesian Giants on a free transfer in January after ending ties with Al Uroba of the United Arab Emirates. During his short stint in Tunisia, the 26-year-old striker was on target on 3 occasions in 21 appearances. Edo will, however, continue his trade elsewhere for 7 different clubs in 10 years. And away from that story to other sporting matters, where the Confederation of African Football, that is CAF, president in Ivory Coast to 2024. Motsepe confirmed the postponement in Rabat, Morocco's capital. The tournament was to be hosted in June-July 2023, which is the height of the rainy season in Ivory Coast, the host country. It is the 2nd consecutive time that the AFCON has been postponed in the final in 2022. Meanwhile, the 34th edition of the biggest African showpiece, which had been initially scheduled for June 23 to July 23, 2023 in Ivory Coast, has also suffered the same fate as the CAF president said it would not go according to plan due to the weather conditions in the West African country. They have already put in place to stage the tournaments. And that's your sport news on Africa Today. Back to Peace.
Welcome back. Now to the rest of the news. At Ogurute was set on fire late Sunday night and the affected building was totally burned. It is also gathered that the State Fire Service, which has an office at Ogurute, could not move in to save the situation for fear of further attacks until security was provided. Igweze North and its neighboring Igweze South local government area had been under attack recently by unknown gunmen, leading to the state government imposing a 6 a.m. curfew and banning commercial area. Over a month ago, there has been heavy security presence in the area to check the continued attacks, but the battle has continued to linger. And that's Africa Today. But before we go, here are the headlines again. We told you that the federal government has replied 5 United States senators. ECOWAS has lifted ban on Mali and agreed to Burkina transition. Indonesia constitution head has faulted president's draft. And on sport, Falcons Bayana to renew rivalry in Rabat. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am Peace Ogenegbawe. Thank you for watching.